Alexander Rusev has been going strong in the WWE for the last few months. He made his debut at the Royal Rumble this year. Came in surprising a lot of people coming out of NXT. I think he got a few eliminations. He was in there for a good amount of time and then got dumped out. And then we didn't see him again for a long time before he started popping up on Raw and on SmackDown, giving his whole, all hail Russia speeches by Lana. He's getting medals, given to him by Vladimir Putin. And, once he started wrestling, he started getting on these pay-per-views. He had a 2-match series against Biggie Langston. He had a 2-match series against Jack Swagger. And now there is a new American hero who stepped up to the plate to take on Rusev at Night of Champions, and that is Mark Henry. Mark Henry, a former Olympic weightlifter. He used to dress up in the red, white, and blue back in the day when he made his debut in WWE way back in those days. I think it was almost 20 years ago, if I remember right. I think it was 1995, maybe 1996 at the latest. I know that he even tried out to try and make the 1996 Olympic team, but I think it was due to an injury that he had to bow out. So, this guy knows what it means to be a real American hero, going up against, Mr. Russia over here, waving the Russian flag. So many guys have stepped up trying to knock Rusev off of his perch. There's rumors out there, basically, wondering if Rusev will keep this streak all the way up until, Kurt Angle makes his debut for WWE. Maybe if they do it at a big show like the Royal Rumble, maybe even if they have it go all the way until WrestleMania. I think that honestly that with Rusev, WWE is painting themselves into a corner. Once you have a guy, start undefeated, it seems to be the easiest thing in the world. I think if I was to bring somebody up from a company like NXT, you want to make this guy look like he's a surprise. But once you bring him to the main roster, you have him lose a match almost right out of the gate to show, this is the big leagues. You might have been the biggest fish in the smallest pond that is NXT, but once you get to WWE, you are in a whole nother nature. I know that Triple H is trying to get over his performance center, and by bringing his guys in and beating WWE's land of jobbers at the bottom of the roster. Basically, it's showing how strong these guys at NXT are, that they're able to beat these guys. I can remember, to bring a sports analogy into it, there was a time when the University of Miami was one of the strongest football teams in the country. And I'm not talking back in the days of like The Rock. I'm talking like 2002. And the Cincinnati Bengals was one of the worst teams in the NFL. They could barely find a way to win a game. I apologize if you're a Bengals fan, but if you are, you remember the team that I'm talking about. You guys didn't go winless like the Detroit Lions did. I guess that was probably about 5 years ago. That's how they got Stafford on that team, I'm pretty sure. Maybe Stafford was on the team and he was hurt his rookie season or something like that. But yeah, that team was bad. But basically, people always made the analogy, what would happen if the University of Miami, the best team in college football that just looks like they're unbeatable, would go up against the Cincinnati Bengals, and everybody, would jump on board saying that the college team would beat them because, they just wanted to pile on and say how bad the Bengals were. But then, when you really got into the real people from sports, who really broke it down, they said that any pro player is always going to be better than any collegiate player. It's just, it's two different leagues. Once you're over here, you play one way, and then once you get to there, you have to learn to play a whole nother game. You're still, throwing the ball around. So, honestly, with mine, every once in a while you can build up a guy like Goldberg, and I don't think Rusev is going to go all the way to Goldberg status where he goes 120, 160, however many it was that Goldberg won before he finally lost. But if you remember back to Goldberg, once you build a guy up like that, you're almost setting yourself up for fail because he can't win forever. Fans will even get bored if it's the biggest guy of the company always winning. You know, with Stone Cold Steve Austin, they would build this guy up to where he was the champion. He'd let him be champion for a few months. They'd cut his legs out. You know, they would send him. He wouldn't go down to the bottom. He's still Stone Cold Steve Austin. He's still the main eventer. But, you know, he had to work his way back up. You know, if you think back, you know, the time when he lost the championship and then he started fighting, you know, Mr. McMahon because they wanted to buy some time, you know, so they let Rock and Mankind have a series of matches. That way they could have Rock versus Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania. So, you know, just because the guy loses a match doesn't mean it. But, I mean, when you're coming in and you're strong and your whole storyline basically is that you're undefeated, it paints you into a corner. Did anybody else notice that this was the fucking... I apologize. Did anybody else notice this was the main event of Monday Night Raw? I mean, this is what they ended the show with. I could tell by looking at it. You know, the Cena and Brock Lesnar brawl was in a weird place of the show. The hyped up Divas match with Brie and AJ. You had Nikki and Paige in there. That was in a weird spot. It sort of left, you know, everybody thinking, you know, why wasn't, you know, Brock and Cena in there? I think they were trying to battle it out. I think that spot happened around halftime in the NFL game, trying to see if people would turn off the NFL Monday Night Football game, which was the Eagles. I listened to that whole damn game. Who the hell did the Eagles play? The Eagles played the Colts. Maybe seeing if people would change over to see Brock Lesnar and John Cena, if they saw it on their timeline, or if they just happened to be channel surfing, and then see where it would go from there, you know. Would Cena and Lesnar fight again to end out the show? Because, you know, before SummerSlam, we saw Brie and Stephanie end out the show, but how many times do you see anybody other than you know, John Cena, maybe Roman Reigns? How often do you see those guys not close it out? But you know, I don't know what they called this. If it was a pep rally or if it seemed like some sort of a celebration for Mark Henry coming out there. Everything's looking all red, white, and blue. You know, he's getting, you know, motivational speakers from other, I guess you could say other Olympic heroes from back in the day, telling Mark, you can do it, win one for Team USA. But honestly, in my mind, there's no chance in hell for Mark Henry. Mark Henry's not going to win this match. He's going to make Rusev look awfully nice. Honestly, in my mind, I had other ideas on what to do with Mark Henry, especially it seemed like he had another angle going with the writing team. It seemed like maybe he was getting paid double since he was working twice and he didn't want to tell anybody and keep it a secret, and it just passed by. But Big Show and Mark Henry had a tag team, and it seemed like they were going to be going after the tag championships. It seemed like when they were on the in the ring, the announce team always built them up like they were big things. Maybe he'll lose this and fall back into his tag match with the Big Show. Maybe the Big Show and him will go after the Wyatts for attacking him on Monday Night Raw tonight. Maybe they're just sort of setting the stones, or maybe they'll do what they've done with Rusev for the last, you know, two sets of pay-per-views, and maybe he'll get a rematch there. But I don't know who's going to beat Rusev, but definitely in my mind, I know it's not going to be Mark Henry. Mark Henry, you know, the big, you know, proud Texas Longhorn Olympic wrestler, you know, as you know, set his place in the history of WWE. I'm sure this guy is going to be a Hall of Famer for everything that he did before wrestling and everything that he did while he was in it, including becoming a World Heavyweight Champion. I think it's going to be sort of payback for everything that Vince and the writing staff had this guy do, from, you know, having the baby hand with Mae Young, being called sexual chocolate, you know, going through that long period where he had the huge contract, and rumor is Vince wanted the guy to quit, and he knew what it was like to get paid, so he was going to do whatever it took to get paid, and it included, you know, eating a lot of crow and just doing what you were told to keep your job. But definitely Rusev for the win in this one. You can count on that one. Take it to the bank.